today I want to talk about blueprint for pricing and fulfillment AI app projects. Okay. It's very high level. And in the future, I'm going to drill down a little bit more and have in mind. This is early days. Okay. Even a year ago, you said AI apps. People didn't quite understand what we were talking about. Okay. Um, so the pricing and things that I'm mentioning to you guys is literally comes from our own experience building AI apps for ourselves. And also I have third-party vendors creating AI apps for us on occasion. And it's just a combination of those that I'm sharing with you guys. So the blueprint is literally blueprint based on our experience. There isn't really an industry standard of way of doing it. It's just all of that. You guys are in new grounds, okay? So I would suggest to you guys for a lot of these AI apps, if you are building it for yourself or if you're doing it as an agency for others, wherever possible, I suggest doing these projects in 2 steps. Phase 1 is creating the minimum viable product or MVP of the app with no code or low code, okay? And we now have covered it. You just go through them, you understand what I'm talking about. It's essentially, it's not to build a full-fledged app. It is to create a version of the app that is a proof of concept to show yourself, if you're building for yourself or for your clients, how good AI can accomplish that specific task. Stepping back for a second, an AI app, let me define the term. I've defined it in the past, but I'm going to repeat. An AI app is an application that takes existing foundation models. Again, all of these terms are defined in previous trainings. Could be different models, could be text to text, image, text to image, image to image, what have you. All the new models that are coming in. You pick a model or sometimes multiple models and you chain them. And you have an input. You have that model to do a specific task for you. So the customer wants to do a particular thing. Okay. They want to, like in our case, take the business description, create a compelling magic hook or ad headline for it. You want to read a bunch of emails, summarize them. Look at a video, summarize it, stuff like that. Okay. So essentially you have input, one or more models sitting in the middle, and you have output. That's a simplified version of what an app is. Now, if you guys watched my previous video, that is in getting oriented, I think it's in the welcome, is either in the welcome or our method to enabling agencies. I have talked about the technology perception versus technology reality gap. Okay. So sometimes people have unrealistic expectations. So the models are becoming really good, really fast. I want to say exponentially. But people a lot of times have unrealistic expectations from what the tech can actually do. So the purpose of minimum viable product is to create that app quick and dirty, okay? Or it can be the final products. Again, we have built final products using no code or low code. I can even give you examples. But the idea here to see, can the AI model, the current AI models, accomplish a task reliably and with good enough results? Meaning you look at you put multiple inputs in, you look at the output and see if the output is good enough, okay? And a lot of times you can do it as a minimum viable product with no code or low code. I put a suggested price range here, 5 to 10K. Um, I would, I'm telling you guys with a little bit of effort, a lot of times you can build this yourself. Okay. And and if a client comes to you, again, I'm talking to agency owners, but if you're doing it for yourself, same concept. If an agency owner, if you're an agency owner and a client, you're working with clients, even let's say you're an AI marketing agency, you're working with someone like, hey, I have a fitness training program. Can I build a an AI app that takes my customers like training and weight and diet and stuff and gives them a customized plan? So if you have a project like that, instead of like selling a whole project, I would say do it in 2 steps. I got my suggestion based on current state of the art and my experience. Do it in 2 steps. Say, hey, before we go build a full-fledged app that has login, beautiful input, you can upload a PDF, reads the PDF, and takes their current training into account and all that. Let's create a minimum viable product out of it. Watch Dave's video and Matt's video on how to do this. Okay. And then put a bar, like a phase one. I'm going to create a minimum viable product for you. It's not going to have like monetization and login and like email capture and customization, all the toggles and stuff like that. But um, do a I'm going to build an MVP for you guys. And honestly, given how much time it takes, you can probably, but also it's very novel, right? So not a lot of people can do it. By joining our program, you guys kind of have a superpower. Um, you can essentially build it with no code or low code. Now, the other thing, I'm going to take a quick pause here. I told Darsh for our agency in a box clients, uh, as a test. I'm not promising we will do it for long term, but as a test, so that to see, you know, um, how it feels. Okay. If you guys have clients that want a MVP app built for them and you're an agency in a box customer, you can ask Darsh to build it for you at a wholesale price. We don't know exactly what that is yet because again, we are on the cutting edge. There are a lot of things. I don't even know all the use cases that your clients may need. So we are even willing to help you guys with this. If you're an agency in a box customer, contact Darsh if you have a client that wants this, or alternatively, it's good for you. Learn how to do it, and you can bang these out really quickly for the client. And I think that is a kind of the range you should be going for. Are you guys with me so far? Um, Once you have the MVP built, you deliver it to the client and you say, okay, so this is what, it's not a final product, or sometimes it could be the final product because sometimes people are okay with just having a simple landing page, one page, input, upload, type in things, output. Okay. Even output can be emailed to them a lot of times. Um, you can then say, okay, so is it good? Now we go into a fully fledged product. That means creating a website, it has login, it has profile, all that. This requires some coding, but the beauty of it is that if you have done your job right and you have phase one nailed down, um, phase two becomes super simple because the uncertain part, which is can the AI model do this? Which AI model will be doing the work? Stuff like that is already taken care of in phase one. So you can hire like engineers on Upwork to do it cost efficiently in phase two. Because like all the other things you need, like like I said, login, profile page, stuff like that, are well understood things that pretty much every engineer that is worth their salt on Upwork um, can do it, and it's pretty commoditized. So phase two is essentially building bells and whistles for phase one using actual coding. If you're not a coder, if you're a coder, then the problem's solved. You can do it yourself. But if you're not a coder, You become a project manager, and you can then do this. And again, the range is based on what I've seen. People quote us for works. Can be higher. If a very complex project, it can be much higher price point. Again, if it is more than 100K, I would break it down into more phases even. Okay. I would say anything over 50K, you probably want to break it down into more phases. So you have like milestones. Ba-bam, ba-bam, ba-bam. Okay. Moving on. So now, in terms of fulfillment method, so this is sort of new, and this is my approach to building products these days. We use the same method at Deal.ai. And this is a sort of a new system to myself. I had to invent it. The reason for that is back when I had a large engineering team in one office, the way to build a project was you hire a bunch of engineers, they're in the same office, you have tickets, you walk in to different engineering pods, and you work with them on all sorts of projects, and you make sure they're working on it and the progress is smooth. But there's another trend that is happening that sort of made me have to modify my approach to building complex projects. And I'm going to share that with you guys. There are pros and cons, and I'm going to talk about that throughout this presentation to how I do it. I'm going to share that with you, and you can you can take a hybrid approach or just take one or the other based on your preference. The new system that I'm using these days that I'd never used before, we call it internally the bounty system. And essentially, for projects that are, this is the thing, if it is crisp and well-defined project, okay? So let's say the project is, I want an AI app that my customers can connect to their emails, or let's say customer support emails, and give the CEO a daily summary of the most important things that customers are emailing it about, right? So you see that being a good app. As a CEO of a company, you want to understand what is happening overall in your customer support email, but you don't want to read them all. And you have to rely on your customer support people. Hey, what do people normally talk about or complain about, right? So that can be an AI app, all right? And at this point, if you have done the phase one of the work, meaning you have created the proof of concept, connected it to the customer support email of the customer, which you can totally do using the software that Matt recommended, or Zapier, or anything else. We've covered two right now, and you can see the output. You can show that to the CEO of your the CEO of the company that is your client and say, hey, this is what it will produce. Does this look good? If you've done that work, okay, then taking that and productizing it into a product that now has a button that anybody can log in. Let's say your client says, now, can you make it into a SaaS solution that they can then sell to other people? Or maybe you want to do it for yourself and sell it to your clients. Going from the proof of concept to a fully fleshed out project, that next step is actually relatively well-defined and crisp, okay? It's pretty simple. It's like, okay, so this is the MVP. Now, dear engineer or team of engineers, I want this to do this and that as a login, charge people $20 a month, connect their customer support Gmail account, emails out, or it has a page that shows daily summary or text messages the customer, the paying customer, a summary of issues. Are you with me so far? That is a crisp, well-defined project, and it lends itself very well to a bounty system. Bounty system, again, means it's gotta be well-defined. You cannot have scope creep or feature creep. But at this point, if you've done your work, what you've done actually is that you've gotten the project to a point where it's now just pure implementation, and it can create a bounty for it. Okay. The good thing about it, that you don't have to worry about managing hours, which is a big problem with remote work environment. I didn't have that problem in a physical office because I knew if the engineers were coming to work, and if they came to work, are they sitting at their desk? And I walked in and I made sure they're working on things and they're not playing video games. But but in a remote work environment, especially if you're using an outsourced platform like Upwork, what happens in reality is that the engineer says, "Oh yeah, we will do it," and this is our rate is whatever, $30 an hour. It's an offshore engineer, and they keep telling you the deadlines start creeping because they're like, "Oh, it's taking longer than expected." Da 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 da, and and you have no way of knowing that for sure if they're playing video games or they're actually working on the project, and project is difficult. So having a bounty system completely eliminates that project. That's what I like about this project, this method. It eliminates that problem, and it creates a win-win scenario for both you and engineers. Let me explain why. Because if your engineers are paid on an hourly basis or a fixed salary, it is to their benefit to drag things on, okay? And normally they're quoting you a low hourly thing or whatever to get the project, but they're dragging it on, and you're incurring a lot of costs, and the engineer isn't working hard, and they're because of that they're making money over time, but they're not making more money fast. So it's not a win-win scenario. In the bounty system, it is a win-win scenario because you would know it's actually the difference is huge because the engineer is fully motivated because they know they have a milestone, they have to deliver this specific project to you. And the faster they deliver it, the more money they make. And it is to your benefit because you get the project fast at a price that doesn't creep. Okay. And when you know the actual price, you can also quote the client. Well, everybody wins. Actually, engineers that are really good, um, they make more money using in this system. Okay. You have peace of mind and you can deliver a project to your clients faster. And your cost is well understood and it doesn't creep. Okay. So that's the pros. The cons of this approach is it takes time to build reputation to be able to do this, meaning why would an engineer trust you that at the end you will pay? Why would an engineer trust you that you won't expand the scope of the project, have feature creep and stuff like that over time? So it may take you one or two projects to collect one or two or three engineers that are willing to work with you on these terms. Okay. Which goes to my next point, which is in order to be able to pull this off, you need to be a reasonable person. I tell my engineers, I tell my team all the time, I'm a reasonable person and I try to build goodwill with my engineers. And I want to create win-win scenarios. Okay. So if you're reasonable with them after one or two projects, and maybe you don't start as a bounty system, you start with hourly. That's actually a lot of times we have done the same. We start hourly, and then after a while, we turn them into bounty and they make more money. They know I'm a reasonable person and I know how to and they know that I want the project delivered more than they do. So they push hard, they make more money, and we get what we want also faster and at a reasonable price point. And I'm not worried about engineers essentially just playing video games and charging me for hours and telling me, oh, it's a very difficult project. Okay. Um, Now, the other con of this is that it doesn't work if the project is not well defined, which is why I said do it in 2 steps. The MVP is essentially the blueprint for the final product. Okay. So that's why I think it's important for you guys to be able to do some no code work to get the MVP out. So the engineer looks at it like, oh, so I got to just add this and that and codify this project into a website or a mobile app or what have you. Does that make sense, guys? So if you've done the work, it doesn't work if it is like it's not a very well defined project. Now, I'm going to show you guys. I removed all the information. I just show you guys a screenshot of how we set it up in Monday. These are real bounties. I removed information about people and stuff. But this is how our bounty board works, and I'm going to see if Monday has a system to actually share a template with you guys, and if we can, we will add it. Essentially, it's like, okay, what's the item? What's the bounty? Details in the notes section here. Who's taking it on? The bounty, these are real numbers. So the bounty to hit that milestone, okay? And also the deadline, I always put a deadline. This is from the past, so the deadlines are past, but always put a deadline on it. And then you have a status. Okay, it's available. Do you want to take it? If they want to take it, they essentially put their name on it, and then they switch the status to work in progress. Okay, so that's kind of how we manage the bounty system. I'm going to see if I can share a template. I don't know if Monday has a way to actually share a template, but if there is, if not, we're going to give you guys good screenshots so you can model if you use Monday. But if any other project management tool, ticketing system, similar thing. Now, a few pro tips. We use Monday, but you can use any other project management. Once a bounty picked up, we create a Slack channel for that bounty with the name of the person who picked it up, the amount of the bounty, the deadline, and then inside that Slack is communication between the infrastructure team that I'm going to cover in a second. Be reasonable. Okay, this is, I can't emphasize this enough. If you build a reputation as an a-hole, um, people don't want to work with you. If you want to build a big agency or a big company, continuity of talent is important. Continuity of talent, okay? Meaning people, when they come in, after a while, they get used to your system and there's a learning curve, right? To your code base, to your system. You want to have continuity of talent, and continuity of talent doesn't come from being a pushover, because then your business won't survive, and doesn't come from being an a-hole. So it needs to be a reasonable middle ground. Okay, that's, I can't emphasize this point anymore. Okay, it's like you got to be reasonable with engineers. Things happen, you got to be accommodating it. um, Things that you didn't expect happens, your client comes back to you and all that. So anyways, um, if a bounty needs, the scope of a bounty increases due to unforeseen circumstances, like something you didn't predict ahead of time, or the customer middle of the project says, hey, I forgot to tell you, but there's this important thing. Again, it comes back to being reasonable. Increase the bounty a little bit. And if the customer increases the scope, ask the customer to add a little bit to the project cost, okay? And pass it on, part of it, to the engineer who now has to work harder. Again, you don't have to worry about their motivation and all that. They all want to work as hard as possible to get to the bounty, to get paid. So that's why I said at the very beginning of this AI software agency is like, you would think it's about technical chops, and there is some truth to that, project management, but it's not about actually ability to code. Mostly it's commoditized a lot. It's about your ability to manage humans, be reasonable, build a reputation with your clients, and also your ability to come up with solutions to unforeseen obstacles and fires that happen all the time. So common sense and sales and people management are the three very hard commodities. Everything else is, if it's AI models, you've seen how easy it is. You can pick it up in a couple of weeks, and all that. Okay. Um, and also, again, goes to goodwill. If a project is, the bounty is 5K, let's say you're charging the customer 20K, um, the bounty you put in is 5K. You get the project, you work with the engineer to deliver it, you give it to the customer is happy, it's above expectation. Put a $500 bonus on the $5,000. Okay, build goodwill. It pays off over time. Okay, I see one question. Is the bounty the fee or the project itself? It's the payment that you pay to the engineer once the product is delivered. And sometimes, in some scenarios, you have to put a deposit up front and the rest becomes bounty. Okay. I prefer, obviously, all of it is backloaded, because then engineer is fully motivated. But if you know the engineer, you work with them, you know they're not gonna leave you, you know, um, abandon the project halfway through. Paying some deposit also makes sense. You guys are the project managers, essentially. Your role is project management. Okay, fulfillment method number 2 is having a infrastructure team. And that's basically engineers who are hourly or fixed salary. That's how that was 100% of my development in my past life. Now we use a hybrid method. And the right approach for complex projects is a hybrid method. If it's a simple project, probably bounty is the right way to go. Pros and cons, well, obviously, because they're on fixed salary or what have you, it works well when you know the engineer well, okay? If you trust them, and you work with them, or if you have a technical co-founder, that could be another solution, by the way. If you want to start an AI software agency, having a technical co-founder helps, in which case it's not a bounty. Can handle open-ended projects with a lot of missing details, meaning you don't know what exactly you're building. You're coming up with things to build on the go, and good for infrastructure work, obviously. And the cons are feature creep, scope creep, them delaying deadlines, saying, oh, it takes longer than all that. Overbilling is the number one problem, especially if you're using offshore, or it's not even offshore, remote engineers on an hourly basis. This is the problem that the bounty system avoids. Okay. And engineers aren't incentivized to deliver results fast. So just so you understand the difference between the dynamic of the two, with infrastructure engineers or fixed hourly engineers, you have to chase them. Oh, where's this? What happened to this? What's the ETA of that? I'm going to show you actually how it shows on Monday. With bounty system people, you don't have to worry about that at all. They are the one that are hunting. You're like, oh, can you review this? I just delivered. Like, it just flips the dynamic fully. Okay. Now, in Monday, again, if I can put the template in, like somehow put a Monday template for you guys, you can use it. So this is how ours looks. I removed the features and names and stuff like that. But essentially, you have the feature or bug, detailed notes of what it is, screenshots, who picked it up, status, ready for review, working on it, stuck, important, working on it, ready to start, meaning they haven't been picked up, priority, ETA, because it is fixed hourly or salary, is like ETA management is like super important. ETA is estimated time to finish the project, and expect this to continuously creep, and then the type. Okay. Now I'm going to move on to the next slide. Pro tips for managing infrastructure teams, over the shoulder management. Unfortunately, in this day and age, we don't have any engineers in an office, so it's all remote. But when I had engineers in an office, I call it over the shoulder management. You just literally go and to their desk and say, "Hey, can I see where we are with such and such ticket?" Online, you got to do the same thing with WhatsApp, Slack, whatever you guys use. Test everything throughout the process, no surprises. I tell you guys this is my life experience. Very rarely, okay, does an engineer go into a cave and come back a month later with something that is good. It's always negative surprise, okay? So it's very important to hammer this point that, hey, I need to constantly see the project you're working on throughout the process. And doesn't matter if it's incomplete, it's embarrassing, looks terrible, and all that. Trust me, I can handle it. The same with designers, by the way. Designers are even worse. So if you're working with someone to design something, they're like, designers have this tendency, oh, it's creative work, I gotta go and all that. Okay. And I'm like, okay, but if you do that, you come back and I will hate the outcome. Okay. So it's better for you and me, for my sanity and your life, because if I see the result after a month and it's totally off the mark, I get mad. Okay. So it's better for both of us if I see the work that you're doing in the middle. Okay. So show me. If Don't be embarrassed. I'm a smart dude or woman, and men or women. I'm a smart person, and I have the ability to see what you're working on and extrapolate from there. Okay. Designers are perfectionists, yes, but you have to force it through. I'm telling you guys my life experience with this. You you do what you want. I'm gonna give you unsolicited advice. There hasn't been a single time in my entire career where is the designer who's perfection like, oh, I need it to be perfect, it's not ready to be shown. Nope, I need to see it. Okay. It's just because it's just like, I know what they go into their own cave and they iterate in their own brain, and they're completely on a path that they shouldn't be on, and it's hard to correct at the end. Okay. BOD and EOD, beginning of day and end of day report. So when they start their day, they put a blurb, is mandatory. Okay. Today, I'm working on this and this and this, and this is what my work is. BOD, beginning of the day report. End of the day, when you're signing off, end of the day report. I work on this and that and that, and this happened, that happened, that happened. It's mandatory. Mandatory. Okay. So always ask for BOD, EOD with infrastructure team. And infrastructure team is essentially the team that is on hourly or whatever, fixed salary, essentially. Covering hybrid models. So again, I it turns out, again, this is new world post COVID. Everything has changed, and this is the new world model that I use personally at Deal AI, and I think it's the best system. Is you essentially have a hybrid model, bounty and infrastructure teams. If you're doing it for clients, you have engineers that are working on an hourly basis on call, depending obviously on your workload, and engineers that are willing to work on a bounty system. The best engineers are probably going to go on the bounty system, the ones that can manage themselves. Okay. The ones that are good technically, but they're not good at managing themselves, they can go on hourly. But then you have to do all the things that I mentioned. Self-contained projects, put them in bounty. Infrastructure work, meaning things that are kind of like fuzzy, it's not quite well defined. Infrastructure team. If you're in doubt, put it in bounty. Okay, so this is, to me, is the preferred method. Yeah, I said it right here. Try to use bounty system as much as possible, but not anymore. So it's like that Einstein quote. He says, make things as simple as possible, but not any simpler. So make things as bounty as possible, but not any bountier. Is it good to test engineers with simple phase one projects before we? Yes, 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 yes. It's always good to engineer. And again, we're gonna give you guys later on tips on how to hire, for example, from Upwork. We hire from Upwork a lot. Um, and designers from 99 Designs. And we have a particular method I'm going to share with you guys, but the gist of it is you hire engineers, you test them on a simple, small project. If they're good, you build a relationship with them and you work with them on a continuous basis. Okay. I wish I knew this sooner. Honestly, guys, this is kind of the years of my work managing all sorts of engineering projects. Yeah. So one thing, one thing I want you guys to keep an eye on um, is as you see AI app projects, and if you're okay sharing them with me, bring them on Tuesday calls and start sharing actually some app projects with us. I'm going to give you guys more tools and more lessons. So this is not by any means, it's not the conclusion of the AI software agency program. Is just a beginning and it's a continuous work because this field is going to evolve for years to come. That's the good news. Uh, what I need from you guys is we have our own understanding of what are the things that people want and ask, and we build based on that for our own platform. But bring those to me. Like if you have a specific examples, bring on these calls, and I want to also get some input from you guys, and we go from there.